Good morning from Northwest Florida. I haven't posted any jokes today because I uh, I had some young guy tell me yesterday that I was too old and get Grandpa off the phone. So I've got a I got a good I got a good one for him later. I'm gonna post. But anyhow, I seen Elizabeth Vargas this morning. Not that I'm a Vargas fan, but um, Walmart coffee cups, $3. And wait a minute, I forgot something. Anyhow, I'm not a I'm not a big Elizabeth Vargas fan, but I'm a political guy because I am. And I can remember the first president I ever voted for, and I used to ask all my patients. I said, "Who's the first president you voted for?" And and I always asked when I was a paramedic who the current president is, so I can figure out if you knew place, time, place, person, and if you was right in your head. But anyhow, um, I voted for George Bush, number one. And so all my adult life since I started voting, 18, I've voted Republican. And it's not because of Republican Democrat, it was because where I grew up, how I grew up, and we learned this in college. My father's family was Republican, my mother's family was Democrat. But it's not the same Democrats and Republicans as it was back then. Uh, but when Trump first ran, uh, the very first time I was living in Texas, and I I was a Ted Cruz guy, and I hated Trump, and that whole spiel. I never did like Trump, but I learned to like him, and then I learned to love him, and then I don't know what the hell happened. But I tell you what I think happened. I think when they shot his ear off in Butler, that his values changed. And I think they got to him and they said, look, we killed a couple of presidents. You're not that far off the list, but let's make one thing perfectly clear. We'll kill your children and your family and we'll just leave you alone. And with any man, that would cause a way of thinking. And I think that's what happened. And so he went from America first to Trump first, and Katie barred the door. But that's what I think happened. And we're going to see what this news report has to say uh, with that firefighter that got killed. Let's watch. She just reports. It's some reporter doing the story.
Today marks 2 years since the assassination attempt on President Donald Trump's life at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. While Trump survived the attempt, Fire Chief Corey Comparator was killed that day, and for 2 years, his widow hasn't stopped asking why. She spoke exclusively with our News Nation investigative correspondent, Rich McHugh.
None of this was fake. I'm tired of hearing that. It was not fake that day. President Trump got shot.
2 years after that fateful day here in Butler, Pennsylvania, Helen Comparator is still pleading for answers. When the first shots rang out that day, Helen's husband, Corey Comparator, a 50-year-old fire chief, father of two, dove over his wife and daughter, acting as a human
I would have
shield,
done the same.
taking one of those bullets himself.
Unfortunately, he got killed. And I don't want anybody to forget that. And I was looking right in his eyes when it happened. So I don't want people to forget that. And that we struggle every day. Still. Because we don't have answers.
Helen Comparator says there should never have been a first shot that day. The
Never
Secret
should have been
Service
a
had
first shot.
plenty of warning of a possible gunman on the grounds. Looking back on that day in Butler, what do you think the Secret Service got most wrong?
Everything.
Helen's frustration validated by this DHS report. It says the Secret Service failed to establish a joint communications room with local law enforcement who had been
DEI. I watched them DEI hires pull him off the stage. They couldn't even holster their weapon. 5'1", 240-pound girl trying to pull a 6 foot. How tall Trump is? 6'5", 6'3", 250. This guy is sitting on top of the building, and they don't even have no way of telling anybody. By the way, if I'd been there, I'd crawled my ass on top of that damn building and made sure somebody would have seen us. I don't know what happened over there, but there's a bunch of all the heroes got killed. The chief that got healed is a hero before he even got killed. And this damn conspiracy of cremating this damn kid and this Charlie Kirk crap where the bullet, man, I've killed big rack bucks and bighorn sheep with 30-06 and pulled the slug out. Yeah. I'm sorry. Let's finish watching.
Reports about the suspicious person, later identified as the shooter, Thomas Crooks.
They didn't pick up the radios. They had no communication. They had no communication with the outside. None.
I read in that report that there were 102 calls.
As a chief of EMS, we have to take certain classes from FEMA, especially after 01. I was getting a root canal that day. I have a friend that died in the towers, a private paramedic working for a private service. Went down. People forget about the private EMS folks that died in the towers, 376. I won't forget. I worked with this big old girl. Her name was Terry. And she was from the Bronx. And she was big. She come to work down in Atlanta. And I love working with that lady. And she was driving that day, and anything about ambulances anybody knows, they will get stuck up in flat ground. And I was on the passenger side. We was double paramedic. And I told her, I said, we had some downtime. She was wanting to pull in a vacant lot in downtown Atlanta. I said, Terry, I said, don't go in there. I said, we'll get stuck up bigger than a pig in a wet blanket. And she said, no, we won't. No, we won't. And sure enough, we did. And sure enough, we did. And to keep her from getting in trouble, I went out there and got muddy and found a old piece of wood from a pallet and put it up under both wheels and got us out of there. But after she left, Atlanta. She went back to New York and went to work for a private ambulance company. Anyhow, we learned all about communications and chain of command. And it sounds like there was no chain of command at all. And that's from the DEI hires that don't know command from a hole in the ground, which apparently was both the same thing.
Transmissions that were missed.
Yep.
It says, instead, we found that Secret Service received only 5 phone calls and 3 text messages about crooks. So they're admitting they got 5 calls and texts and they didn't do anything. But what's your reaction?
My reaction is why? Why? Why wouldn't you have reacted from one? I mean, if they would have held him back off that stage and not let him go, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today.
Crooks himself remains shrouded in mystery. Authorities still haven't publicly identified a motive for his attempted assassination of President Trump. You've expressed belief that the gunman, Thomas Crooks, didn't act alone.
I don't believe there was another shooter there, but I believe that he was working with somebody. I believe it was an inside job inside the government somewhere.
And this was political?
Oh, yeah.
Political.
Absolutely. Yep.
Have you seen evidence to that?
Oh, I've been told things, but I've had something that happened with me that just afterwards, and you're starting to put the pieces together, it just made total sense.
What will help give you closure?
When the people who put this all together that day are caught and it comes out.
So if you had a message for President Trump, what would it be?
Just to don't forget us and remember what we went through that day. You know, we're still here and we need answers.
Helen Comparator says it was a year before the Secret Service actually reached out to her. The questions that she did ask, she says they didn't answer them fully, and she's now pleading reaching out to President Trump, hoping that he will intervene, apply pressure, so she can get answers as to what happened here and why. Elizabeth, thank you for watching.
And Mario Cuomo there, he's crazy. Um, I say it, and I've said it in a few videos that mine and Trump, or Trump and I, however you want to say it, values don't align no more. Well, you know, I was a guy, a Ted Cruz guy from Texas when this all started. And I didn't like the way Trump talked. I was like, man, if he talked about my wife and kids like that, I'd bust him in the mouth. I swear I would have. But then the Republican Party chose him. I'm part of the Republican Party because I like the conservative, constitutionalist part of being a Republican. All this other crap pisses me off. But you know, I like the America first thing, and then it seemed like it's Israel first. I don't care about a man's politics. I mean, his religion, but I am absolutely country first. God, country, family, and not necessarily in that order, but God's first. And the Jews believe in a different God than we believe in. And that's the God's honest truth. But I don't fault them. I don't fault the Muslims. I fault people on their behaviors and the way they act. This war in Iran, why? I have no idea. I know I've been hearing since Reagan got into office that Iran has a bomb. They're going to get a bomb. They got a bomb. They're going to get a bomb. They got a bomb. They're going to get a bomb. We bombed them back months ago. We destroyed their bombs. And next, they got a bomb. Then we have a truce. No truce. Truce. No truce. Hey, just a minute. We're Israel's puppets. And the government ruined our country. So, between the government saying we'll take care of you and the government taking care of everybody else, what's left? I don't know. Anyhow, I think this needs some music, but if I play some music, then we have to pay somebody. And I'm so poor I can't pay attention. And I want to finish this thing up with being so poor I can't pay attention. When I was born poor. I was so poor. And life didn't get any better. I grew up on free lunch and free breakfasts at school and food stamps and government cheese and government peanut butter. I remember mixing the peanut butter with a stick. So, to the beginning of this video, I guess I am old, but don't put me out to pasture yet. I really appreciate y'all watching. I have a bunch of stories lined up and more jokes. I'm going to put a joke out today on the short for the guy who says I belong in a nursing home. So please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and y'all have a blessed and safe day. Oh, I'm going to put this out there. Private ambulance services have the same capabilities as 911. The same capabilities, the same guys in a different uniform. But when you call 911, you get everybody. You get fire, police, EMS. Sometimes you don't want all them guys at your house. Sometimes you just want an ambulance for whom the bell tolls. Plus, them guys on the 911 ambulance, they've been working 24, 48, 72-hour shifts. They're running their butts off. They're tired. They ain't had no sleep. And these folks over there on the private side, they're ready to go. They're excited. Get the number of your local private ambulance and put it on your phone and call them. Most likely you'll get better care. You'll get better treatment. They take insurances and, of course, they'll pay. But if it's a true emergency and you need everybody and their brothers to show up, call 911. Call 911. My clocks are off a little bit, so we'll finish this bell tone. I'll finish this video with bell tone. Dr. Belltone, I used to cut his grass when I was in high school, and after I graduated high school, I was cutting grass for me and my younger brother. I only have younger siblings. I'm the oldest. And we was cutting 155 lawns a week. Man, that's some rough work. But we used to cut Dr. Belltone's grass. And one day it was so hot out, I got a nosebleed, and Dr. Beltone came out and he let me drink out of his water hose. Yeah. And but now, then I lost my hearing, which I don't have my hearing aids in. I got to take them to Dr. Beltone or Beltone's office and get them worked on. So, Dr. Beltone, thanks for letting me drink out of your water hose, and thanks for making my life better. And please remember, like, subscribe, and comment, and y'all have a blessed day. Thank you for watching.